When God chooses to bless a person, it is not always with fanfare or loud announcements. Often, his blessings come quietly, subtly, and yet profoundly. Many people think that blessings are only measured by material gain or visible success, but true divine favor leaves traces that go much deeper than the surface. It begins in the heart, it reflects in your relationships, and it manifests in your life in ways that are unmistakable if you are willing to recognize them. When God blesses you, 3 powerful signs will appear, and recognizing them can change the way you view life, faith, and your purpose. The first sign is an unshakable peace that rises above circumstances. Life is full of storms. Even the most faithful encounter trials, difficulties, and moments of uncertainty. Yet when God's blessing rests upon you, peace is no longer dependent on the absence of problems. It is a peace that surpasses understanding, that anchors your soul even when everything around you seems to be in chaos. You will notice that setbacks and challenges do not shake your faith as they once did. Anxiety that used to grip your mind no longer has a permanent hold. Instead of being controlled by fear or doubt, you begin to respond with calm and clarity, trusting that God is at work behind the scenes. This peace is not merely passive acceptance. It is an active confidence that what God has planned for you is unfolding in His timing. It is a sign that you are aligned with His will and that He is guiding your steps even when the path is unclear. The second sign is a deep sense of favor in your relationships and opportunities. When God blesses you, people around you begin to respond differently. Doors that were once closed seem to open effortlessly. Connections are formed in ways that feel divinely orchestrated. You may find that mentors, friends, and even strangers are drawn to support you, offer guidance, or provide opportunities that lead to growth. It is not about manipulating circumstances to your advantage. It is about walking faithfully and seeing how God works in the lives of others to align with His purpose for you. This favor is not always flashy or dramatic, but it is powerful. You will sense that your presence carries a certain light, a credibility, and a trustworthiness that others recognize. Your influence grows quietly but significantly, and people instinctively respect your character, your integrity, and your commitment to doing what is right. These are unmistakable signs that God is paving the way for your success and blessing your efforts in ways you cannot fully understand. The third sign is the alignment of your life with your God-given purpose. One of the clearest indicators of divine blessing is a growing clarity about who you are meant to be and what you are meant to accomplish. When God blesses you, your talents, passions, and desires begin to align with the opportunities around you. You may notice that work, service, and personal growth feel more meaningful. Activities that once felt burdensome now bring fulfillment. Even your challenges start to make sense because they serve as training grounds for the purpose God has designed for you. This alignment is transformative. It redefines success from mere achievement to the fulfillment of calling. You will find that your decisions, once clouded by doubt and uncertainty, now seem guided by intuition, discernment, and divine insight. Opportunities no longer feel random. They are the threads of a larger tapestry that God is weaving in your life. This sense of purpose and alignment is not something you create on your own. It is a sign that God is actively blessing your path and confirming the direction in which you should walk. Recognizing these signs requires awareness and reflection. Too often, people overlook God's blessings because they are focused only on what they do not have. They measure favor by worldly standards rather than spiritual reality, but blessings often come disguised in patience, perseverance, and quiet growth. The unshakable peace, the favor in relationships, and the alignment with purpose are all markers that you are under God's hand. They are invitations to trust Him more fully, to surrender your fears, and to embrace the path He is setting before you. When you see these signs, it is not a reason for pride or complacency. Instead, it is a call to live faithfully, to steward your blessings wisely, and to share the overflow of God's goodness with others. Your life becomes a testimony not just to what what God can do, but to what He is doing in and through you each day. Understanding these blessings also requires discernment. Not every opportunity or favorable circumstance is a sign of divine blessing. God's true favor builds character, strengthens faith, and equips you to fulfill His purpose. It encourages growth, challenges you in ways that refine your spirit, and aligns your heart with His will. If you notice that peace remains even in struggle, that relationships and opportunities flow in ways that reflect integrity and wisdom, and that your sense of purpose deepens rather than distracts, you are witnessing the fingerprints of God on your life. These signs are your compass, guiding you toward greater spiritual growth, deeper faith, and lasting impact. Blessings are also meant to transform you from the inside out. As you recognize God's favor, your perspective on life shifts. Gratitude replaces entitlement, patience replaces frustration, and humility replaces pride. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as stepping stones. You recognize that every person you encounter, every opportunity that arises, and every circumstance is part of God's plan to shape your character and expand your influence. This inward transformation is perhaps the most profound sign of all. When God blesses you, it is never only about what you gain, but about who you are becoming in the process. Finally, acknowledging these signs requires faith in the unseen. God's blessings are not always immediately visible or measurable. They often operate in ways that require patience, obedience, and trust. When you cultivate a heart attuned to God's presence, you begin to notice subtleties, moments of clarity, unexpected provision, and gentle nudges that guide your steps. These are reminders that you are not walking alone, that divine favor is with you, and that the blessings you receive are part of a greater plan for your life. The signs of God's blessing, peace, favor, and alignment with purpose are not merely markers of success. They are evidence of a life under the guidance of a loving and sovereign God. As you live with awareness of these signs, your confidence in God's plan will grow. You will learn to trust Him not only in the visible victories, but also in the quiet seasons of preparation. You will begin to recognize that true blessing is measured not by wealth or recognition, but by peace, favor, purpose, and transformation. The more you cultivate gratitude and obedience, the more clearly these signs manifest, and the more your life reflects the beauty of a soul walking in alignment with the divine. Peace is one of the first and most profound signs of God's blessing. It is not a superficial calm that depends on everything going right around you, nor is it a fleeting feeling that comes and goes with circumstances. True peace is deep, unshakable, and transformative. It rises from the assurance that God is in control, that He sees the bigger picture, and that His timing is perfect. This peace manifests itself in ways that affect your thoughts, emotions, and responses, creating a stability that others around you can sense even when life is chaotic. It is a peace that does not deny reality or ignore challenges, but rather provides the strength to navigate them with clarity and confidence. You begin to notice that setbacks no longer provoke panic, fear no longer dominates your mind, and frustration no longer dictates your reactions. There is a quiet assurance that God is actively working on your behalf, even in situations that seem hopeless or overwhelming. One of the remarkable aspects of this peace is that it is not dependent on external circumstances. You may face financial struggles, relational difficulties, or health challenges, yet this peace remains. It is anchored not in what you see, but in who God is and the promises He has made. You start to view trials differently, understanding that they are not random obstacles meant to break you, but opportunity for growth, refinement, and preparation. Where you once might have been consumed by anxiety or doubt, you now pause, breathe, and ask God for guidance. This shift in perspective allows you to respond rather than react. Decisions are made with discernment. Patience becomes your default, and trust replaces the tension that once dominated your thoughts. It is a peace that protects your heart and mind, and it is one of the clearest indicators that God's blessing is at work in your life. This peace also impacts your relationships. When you are under divine favor, your calmness becomes contagious. People notice the difference in your demeanor. In stressful situations, others may be panicking or arguing, but you are able to speak and act from a place of composure. This does not mean you are unaffected by emotions. Rather, you are guided by faith. Your peace allows you to be a source of stability, encouragement, and clarity for those around you. It positions you as someone others can trust and turn to in times of crisis. They may not even realize it, but your calmness and steady faith in the midst of challenges serve as a testimony of God's presence in your life. It is a subtle yet profound way in which blessings manifest, not through wealth or recognition, but through the quiet assurance that radiates from a heart anchored in divine peace. Another critical element of this peace is the shift it brings to your mindset. When you are under God's blessing, worry and fear lose their grip because your faith is growing stronger than your anxiety. You begin to recognize that your limitations are not the defining factor in your life. God's power and plan are. This understanding changes the way you approach obstacles. Instead of seeing them as threats, you start to view them as temporary challenges that God can turn into opportunities. Decisions that once filled you with doubt are now approached with confidence. Even uncertainty becomes manageable because you trust that God is orchestrating everything for your ultimate good. This peace is active. It propels you forward rather than holding you back, giving you the courage to take steps of faith, even when the path is not fully visible. The presence of peace also influences your spiritual life. It deepens your prayer, strengthens your faith, and heightens your awareness of God's guidance. When you are anxious or fearful, it is difficult to hear God's voice or discern His direction. But when peace enters your heart, clarity comes. You find yourself more attuned to spiritual truths, more patient with yourself and others, and more confident in walking according to God's will. The peace that God provides is not passive or weak. It is strong and stabilizing. It creates a foundation upon which your faith can grow, enabling you to persevere in prayer, devotion, and righteous living even when trials persist. It teaches you that peace is both a gift and a practice, a divine presence to receive, nurture, and rely upon every day. It is important to understand that this peace does not eliminate the need for effort or responsibility. Life still requires decisions, action, and accountability. The difference is that when God blesses you with peace, your efforts are guided by wisdom, discernment, and clarity. Mistakes no longer shake your confidence completely, and setbacks no longer derail your faith. Instead, each challenge becomes an opportunity to rely more fully on God's guidance, to grow in resilience, and to experience His faithfulness firsthand. Peace becomes a lens through which you view your circumstances, your relationships, and your own personal growth. It is a living, breathing reminder that God is at work and that His blessings extend beyond the visible into every unseen part of your life. When God blesses you, favor begins to flow in ways that are often unexpected, yet unmistakable. It is a kind of favor that cannot be earned through effort alone, a divine orchestration that aligns people, circumstances, and opportunities in your life. This favor is not about shortcuts or unfair advantages. It is about God working on your behalf, opening doors that no one can shut, and guiding you to the places where your purpose can be fulfilled. You begin to notice that opportunities arise seemingly out of nowhere. Job offers, collaborations, relationships, or guidance from mentor who appear at just the right moment. The timing is precise, often beyond what you could have planned, and it carries the unmistakable signature of divine intervention. This is a sign that God's hand is upon your life, blessing your steps, and ensuring that your efforts bear fruit in ways that exceed human expectation. Favor in relationships is one of the most powerful indicators of God's blessing. When you are under His favor, people respond to you differently. You may find that colleagues, friends, and even strangers are drawn to you, offering support, encouragement, or wisdom that you need at critical moments. There is a sense of ease in forming connections, as if the universe is conspiring to place the right people in your path. This favor does not mean that all interactions are smooth or that conflict disappears, but it does mean that relationships are guided by a sense of alignment and purpose. Conversations flow, collaborations succeed, and your presence carries a credibility and trustworthiness that others recognize. This influence is subtle but impactful. People are willing to invest in you, to open doors, and to walk alongside you because they sense that God is at work through you. Favor manifests as a combination of opportunity, recognition, and divine timing, creating a network of support that strengthens your journey. Opportunities under God's favor often arrive at critical turning points in life. They may appear as career advancements, invitations to contribute to projects, or even chances to serve and lead in ways you never anticipated. These opportunities are rarely random. They are part of a divine design that aligns with your gifts, your calling, and the purpose God has placed on your life. You may notice that certain doors open with little resistance, while others close without explanation, guiding you toward the paths that are truly meant for you. This selective favor requires discernment. Not every positive circumstance is a divine opportunity, and God's favor is best recognized when it aligns with integrity, purpose, and character. When you begin to notice this pattern of guidance, it is a clear sign that you are moving in alignment with God's plan and that His blessing is active in your life. The favor that comes with God's blessing also teaches humility and gratitude. It is not a license for pride or entitlement, but a reminder that your accomplishments are part of a larger divine plan. As you experience favor in your relationships and opportunities, you begin to recognize that success is not solely the result of your efforts, but a combination of diligence, timing, and divine orchestration. This awareness cultivates humility, gratitude, and a willingness to steward these blessings responsibly. You become more conscious of how you treat others, how you use your influence, and how you respond to opportunities. Favor is a test as much as it is a gift. It challenges you to remain faithful, ethical, and committed to serving the greater purpose for which you were designed. Another aspect of favor is its effect on timing and provision. When God blesses you, things often happen in His perfect timing, even if they seem delayed by human standards. You may face seasons of waiting, yet doors that were once closed begin to open in ways that feel miraculous. Resources, guidance, and opportunities arrive just when they are needed most. This timing is intentional, ensuring that you are prepared to handle the responsibilities and growth that accompany the blessings. It is a reminder that God's favor is not only about immediate gain, but also about long-term alignment with His purpose. The delays, the challenges, and the waiting periods are all part of shaping your character and preparing you to receive what He has ordained. Recognizing this allows you to trust the process, remain patient, and continue walking faithfully, knowing that God's favor is already at work, even when you cannot see it fully. Favor also amplifies your ability to impact others. As opportunities and relationships align under God's blessing, you find that your actions carry more influence. What you say, the decisions you make, and the encouragement you give resonate further than before. This influence is a tool for advancing God's purpose, for helping others, and for creating positive change in the lives of those around you. The favor you receive is not meant to be hoarded or taken for granted. It is a responsibility to use wisely. By embracing God's favor with integrity and intention, you participate in the cycle of blessing that extends beyond your personal gain. Every connection you nurture, every opportunity you pursue, and every act of service becomes part of the unfolding testimony of God's goodness in your life. Ultimately, favor in relationships and opportunities is a visible sign that God is actively blessing your journey. It confirms that your steps are guided, that your efforts are not in vain, and that your life is moving in harmony with His plan. This favor encourages perseverance, strengthens faith, and builds confidence in walking the path that God has prepared. You begin to see patterns, connections, and divine orchestration that reveal the depth of His care. It is a reassurance that blessings are not random but purposeful, and that every person's circumstance and opportunity is part of the tapestry He is weaving in your life. Recognizing and embracing this favor allows you to step into your calling with courage, clarity, and conviction. Alignment with God-given purpose is one of the clearest signs that His blessing is at work in your life. When God blesses you, you begin to sense a natural flow between your talents, passions, and opportunities, as if all the pieces of your life are being drawn together into a coherent design. Life no longer feels random or chaotic. There is a growing awareness that every experience, every challenge, and every relationship is part of a greater plan. This alignment is not always obvious at first, and it often requires patience, prayer, and reflection to recognize. Yet over time, the pattern becomes undeniable. The things you once pursued with uncertainty now carry meaning. The skills and abilities you have developed seem to have been placed in your hands for a purpose far beyond your own understanding. It is a sign that you are walking on the path God intended and that He is guiding your steps toward the fulfillment of His plan. This alignment begins to affect the way you approach decisions. When you are in sync with God's purpose, choices that once felt confusing or overwhelming start to become clearer. Opportunities that resonate with your calling feel natural and compelling, while those that are out of alignment seem less appealing, even if they appear desirable on the surface. You begin to recognize that not every opportunity is meant for you, and that discernment is necessary to stay on the path God has prepared. This clarity brings confidence and peace. You no longer make decisions based on fear, comparison, or societal expectations. Instead, your decisions are guided by a sense of divine direction that combines wisdom, intuition, and faith. It is a sign that God is blessing your efforts by ensuring that your steps are purposeful and productive. Another aspect of this alignment is the sense of fulfillment that arises from your work and daily actions. When you are walking in God's purpose, even mundane tasks take on meaning. The work you do, the relationships you nurture, and the responsibilities you carry all become opportunities to serve a higher calling. You begin to see that God's blessing is not measured solely by external success, but by the satisfaction and growth that come from fulfilling the purpose He has placed in your life. This sense of fulfillment transforms the way you approach challenges. Difficulties no longer feel like meaningless obstacles. They are opportunities to develop skills, character, and resilience that prepare you for greater responsibilities. The alignment with purpose gives life direction, motivation, and significance, making every step intentional and impactful. Walking in alignment with God's purpose also strengthens resilience. When challenges arise, you are less likely to be discouraged because you understand that these trials serve a higher purpose. Setbacks and obstacles are no longer viewed as failures, but as training grounds that equip you for the responsibilities and opportunities ahead. You begin to see patterns in your experiences, recognizing that even hardships contribute to your growth and prepare you for the next phase of your journey. This awareness fosters patience, perseverance, and trust in God's timing. It is a sign of divine blessing when you can face adversity with courage, knowing that every experience is shaping you into the person God intends you to become. Alignment with purpose also amplifies your impact on others. When your life is in sync with God's plan, your actions, words, and decisions resonate with authenticity and authority. People are drawn to your vision, inspired by your integrity and influenced by your example. Your ability to encourage, lead, and serve is heightened because your life reflects the consistency of walking in alignment with God's will. This influence is not manipulative or self-serving. It is a natural byproduct of living in accordance with divine guidance. The alignment between your purpose and your actions allows you to contribute meaningfully to the lives of others, fulfilling a calling that extends beyond personal ambition to impact the broader community. It is a sign that God's blessing is not only for you, but also for the lives you touch along the way. Spiritual growth is another profound aspect of this alignment. As you recognize and pursue your God-given purpose, your relationship with Him deepens. You rely more on His guidance, seek His wisdom in decision-making, and cultivate a heart that is sensitive to His direction. This spiritual awareness enhances your discernment, allowing you to distinguish between what aligns with your calling and what does not. You become increasingly attuned to the subtle ways God communicates through intuition, scripture, prayer, and even the advice of wise counsel. Alignment with purpose fosters a continuous cycle of faith, obedience, and reward, reinforcing the connection between divine blessing and intentional living. Ultimately, when God aligns your life with His purpose, you experience a profound sense of meaning and direction that cannot be replicated by worldly success alone. You feel empowered to embrace your gifts, fulfill your calling, and trust that the steps you take are part of a larger plan. Opportunities, relationships, challenges, and vie. Cauteries all converge to form a cohesive path, and you gain confidence that your life is not a series of random events, but a divinely orchestrated journey. This alignment is both a sign and a confirmation that God is blessing your life, shaping you into the person He intended, and using you to accomplish purposes far beyond what you could achieve on your own. As we reflect on these signs, it becomes clear that God's blessings are far more than material gain or fleeting success. True blessing transforms the heart, guides the mind, and aligns every step of our journey with His divine purpose. The unshakable peace that rises above life's storms reminds us that no circumstance can overcome the soul anchored in faith. The favor that flows through relationships and opportunities confirms that God's hand is actively working on our behalf, opening doors and connecting us with the people and resources we need to flourish. And the alignment with purpose demonstrates that every talent, experience, and challenge is intricately woven into the plan He has for our lives, guiding us toward fulfillment and impact far beyond what we could imagine on our own. Recognizing these signs calls for awareness, gratitude, and trust. It invites us to pause and see God's fingerprints in our daily lives, to embrace His guidance even when the path is uncertain, and to respond to His favor with humility and responsibility. Blessings are never just about what we receive. They are about who we are becoming, how we influence others, and how faithfully we walk in the path He has prepared. When we open our eyes to these signs, we are not only acknowledging the goodness of God in our lives, but also stepping boldly into a life of purpose, confidence, and unwavering faith. So, pay attention to the peace that calms your soul, the favor that guides your opportunities, and the clarity that reveals your purpose. For when these signs appear, you are walking in the unmistakable blessing of God, and your life is destined to shine with His glory